Hatapu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Kisnankma Keparu with another broadcast for you. And in this broadcast, we're going to be talking about the secret media manipulation you need to know about. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. And if this is your first time to my channel, hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live or when I upload recorded videos. Also, I have free ebooks for you that you can download and start reading today. They expand more on my spiritual teachings. Just click the links below. And also, if you're not already a member or a supporter of ours on Patreon, please consider doing so. You can do so for as little as $1 or $20 per month. You get exclusive access to instructional videos, articles on how to invoke a spirit, how to be a diviner, meaning read oracles, how to put a amulet together, how to speak to interdimensional beings, and hypnosis to have you lose weight, get rid of negative habits, to be more confident, and to attract money. So again, consider becoming a Patreon supporter, and you can cancel at any time. Lastly, please share this video with family and friends so we can get this revolution started and free the planet. I was about to say program, which is very interesting. Freudian slip, free the program. Haru Nefer, welcome, welcome. This is going to be an interesting conversation because I really want to talk to all of you magis or magicians to kind of give you an understanding of what we are up against. We're living in very, very interesting times. Now, I discourse a lot with people on social media, and what I have found out is that a lot of individuals, this new generation, the millennials, are basically clueless as to what is going on. And not only are they clueless, they're not taking any action whatsoever to stop the impending doom, as I should say. You see, their idea of being an activist or directly intervening is putting up memes. And when I see these things, I always comment back and I say, what are you actively doing? When you take a look, for example, at many of the African American channels, social platforms, you'll find a very interesting thing. And I was talking with a good friend of mine in the UK about this. And I told her, I said, most of these social media enclaves here in the United States are fighting with each other. And they're not really accomplishing anything. In fact, most of them are making documentary films, trying to sell them. But those things, although is information based and gets the information out there, does not do anything to change anything. And the typical response I get from individuals when I jump into the conversation is, well, what are you doing? And I then list out a litany of things or a laundry list of things that I am actively doing. You see, when I was in priesthood, when I was in school, university, I was active. I was so active that let me tell you how active I was. I joined the Democratic Club. I even joined the Communist Club. I joined the acting club. I joined the creative writing club. I was involved. I really wanted to make a change. And during that period, when I was studying George Orwell's book, 1984 was very, very popular. And that really hit home with me. I connected with that book. I read it several times. I watched the movie. And I began to be really observant and take an interest in media manipulation and propaganda. Consequently, I went on to work in advertising. How interesting, isn't that? And I began to see how they manipulate the masses into so-called purchasing products. But those individuals will come along and write books and write articles about how the media manipulates you into getting you to go see a movie or to buy fabric software. That's not really anything big. The real coveted secrets are something that is not going to be available to the masses. Meaning, if I go and get a job at an advertising firm, I am not going to be privy to the real manipulation media techniques unless I am in the upper echelon. Because the real media manipulation is not about how they had this study done. I think it was in the 60s or actually 50s, where you would go to a movie and while watching a commercial or the movie, they would put in a frame or two of popcorn and soft drinks, and you wouldn't pick it up consciously, but subconsciously you would pick it up, and suddenly they found that there was an increase in popcorn and soda. And the Motion Picture Association of America outlawed that practice. But that's easy. That's something that everybody um, should know about. But the real manipulation is more sinister and more covert, and you probably won't even know it. And this is consequently what I see from a lot of millennials. They're just clueless as to what's going on. And then when I describe it and really lay it out for them and break it down, they're in shock and denial. And eventually they get to the point of acceptance. You see, you're the Kool-Aid is so strong and so powerful that even though it's poison and you know it's poison, you still fight and beg to drink it. And there are some of us, certain segments or certain populations of the of our society that are so twisted mentally ill due to the media manipulation that when you bring up the fact that they are not thinking straight, they want to physically fight you. That's how strong it is. And in George Orwell's book, he talked about that, the language of doublespeak. But I think what we're going through now is far more effective and sinister than what George Orwell could have ever predicted. And it really saddens me to see many of these young individuals who take part in these different groups, and the group betrays itself because they don't know who they are. They don't know thyself. They don't know the enemy. They don't even know what the cause really is. So they're lost. And then when you bring the truth to them, it's so foreign to them that they think you're an agent. You know, there's one gentleman today I had to break down a statement. It was a teaser statement that was supposed to be an introductory statement to the actual article. And I questioned that statement. And he got all up in arms as if I was brainwashed. I said, no, you're brainwashed. Let me break this down and tell you why this teaser statement is incorrect and what it's really trying to say, how it's trying to frame a certain perspective that's diametrically opposed to you as a man. And I'll get into that whole gender thing in a moment. You see, first of all, the way this operates is from the top down, as in a pyramid system, like you see behind me with the all-seeing eye there. The top of the pyramid is the ruling elite. And as you go down, you get to what we call as the special interest group or the think tank institutions. Now, what these think tank institutions do is that they create special interest groups, such as Black Lives Matter, such as the feminist movement, such as the various different political parties, the liberals. These think tank institutions pour money into creating these synthetic causes. And then they seed society with these ideas, these ideologies, like the social justice warriors, the SJWs. That was conceived of in a boardroom by a think tank institution like Tavistock or the Council on Foreign Relations or the International Monetary Fund or the Rockefeller Foundation. And they create these things with a goal in mind. They have a 50, 100-year plan because you see, they're far reaching. They understand that there is a direction they want to go in. And I talked about this in an earlier video about how they scan the timeline, how they know where they want society to go, what they want the world to look like in 50 and 100 years. And once they decide on that, they map it all out, a plan to get there. And then they push that ideology out and fund these groups like Black Lives Matters, funded by George Soros, which really he's not the sole person behind it. There are bigger, more sinister forces behind it. Because when you look at Black Lives Matter, you think it's an organization that's supposed to help African Americans in this country. When you find out that the top people in the organization are Black feminists who hate men, specifically Black men. And they use the funding and the media to spout their vitriol to Black men. But see, it's orchestrated from the top down. And yes, it's predicated upon racism, but you're taking so many twists and turns, you don't really look at it as racism. You may think it's a gender thing, maybe, or something to do with identity politics, but it's race-based. What you have now is that they don't want alpha males in existence. And they're doing everything they can to socially engineer it so that you have a planet populated by beta males. And they want to take it a step further and get rid of gender altogether. So you have a group of non-binary people, gender fluid. And then what they do is very clever because they're hiding behind a veil. You can't see them. So they pit one group against the other and have them fight. They create the feminist movement, have white women fight white males. They craft movies, news programs, newspapers, articles. They craft it so that white men are the enemy. They're the racists. They are the oligarchy, the evil patriarchy. And the trick about that is there's some truth in there. But the truth has been twisted. And you can't tell these different groups that they're pawns in a grand chess game. Because all they're thinking about is the resources and the funding that they're getting. That's all they care about. They care about their immediate needs. They don't see how this plan is using them. And of course, African Americans are the beta test pilots for these programs. They introduce it into the African American community. Why? Because the African American community, by and large, is impoverished, doesn't have political clout, doesn't have economic power. So they're ripe for the picking. They can inject identity politics and ideology that's detrimental to the group as a whole. And they specifically, in both cases with Black and white people, use women, use and manipulate women to pit them against the men. Women now are being socially engineered to find attractive a certain type of male, beta male, passive male. And in reality, that's not what women want. Women treasure women desire alpha males. That is how it's been. That is how nature has set it up. And although you have these gender studies courses in college, which are full of lies, although they tell you that these gender roles are wrong, they're not. They're necessary. In ancient Egypt and ancient Kemet, we saw the importance of them, but we looked at it from a type of energy perspective. Your energy is right for this particular endeavor. Your energy is right for that endeavor. And we didn't look at it in terms of just gender alone. But when you mess with that natural order, then you disturb Ma'at, the balance. And this is what they're doing now. They are specifically manipulating African American women to desire a passive African American man, one who has no goals and objectives, one who is a sexual object, one who does not stand up and take charge, one who goes with the flow. And the way that they condition African American women is to indoctrinate them into Margaret Sanger's and the host of them that came after her, feminism, fourth wave feminism. They tell African American women, your men have oppressed you. They're the evil patriarchy. When in fact, the African American community is not a patriarchy. It's a gynocracy where you have a large part of the African American women despising and hating African American men with no clear reason to. But that's the conditioning. Same with white women. Despite the fact that white women historically have been coveted, protected, put on a pedestal, they are told that they have been oppressed, beaten down by the evil white male patriarchy. And that if they can get rid of or take the position of white males, the country would be much better. The world would be much better. Now, obviously, if this information was just thrown out to you, as I've just slated out, you would openly reject it. So it has to be fed to you incrementally, slowly but surely. And I noticed this about 10 years ago. I noticed how when I would watch films, I noticed slowly but surely the male characters were becoming less dominant, less adventurous, less masculine, less physically muscular. And I started to question it. Again, very, very small, slight things. I remember when I saw the new Superman movie and the evil woman was beating him up. I said, well, how is she able to beat him up? Because she's physically not his match. And it was puzzling to me. But when you start putting the pieces together, you start to realize what's going on. Jovan, thank you for your donation. Dwa, much appreciated. But see, we should have realized what was going on when we saw how all of the Hollywood studios were on the same page with introducing what they call diversity. Now, that diversity is deflection, it's a smokescreen. What they really mean is we want to emasculate males, we want to feminize males. So, but why would they want to feminize males? Because the one thing that stands in opposition to them taking over the planet is alpha males. The head of the pride, the lion, the king. If they can do away with masculinity in males, then nothing stands in their way for the conquest of the planet. And to do it, it cannot be in one sweeping maneuver. As David Icke said, it's called the totalitarian tiptoe, meaning problem, reaction, solution. Problem, toxic masculinity. Males are dangerous because of testosterone. Males are rapists. Problem, reaction, women stand up, women join feminist group, women start to put dresses on the little boys, start to emasculate little boys in school by telling them, no, you can't stand up, sit down, be quiet, don't challenge me. Solution, get rid of alpha males because by nature they're toxic. And they know, now here's the cleverness of the plan. Here's how it's so devious and clever. You see, they know that women are not attracted to beta males, but women have a herd mentality. Women stick together. So they will date beta males, right? But they will not procreate with them. So what is the ultimate objective? To depopulate the planet. Ask Bill Gates. So you're introducing the idea of toxic masculinity, emasculating the alpha males, telling women that they should breed and hook up with the beta males, knowing full well that they will never get attracted to the beta males. Their vaginas won't get wet when the beta male is around, and there won't be no procreation, and that they lower the population of the planet. That's the goal. And they have beta tested this already in the African American community, where they have given rights and privileges to African American women, put them ahead of the African American males, made them the hyenas, which is a female with a penis, put them at the head, made the African American community a matriarchy. And now we see that the African American community is in disarray. What did statistics tell us? African American males are, there are more African American males incarcerated than there are females on the planet. Young African American males are failing in reading, writing, and math. This is because the curriculum has been geared toward women now. Women's studies. Competition has been done away with because men, naturally, males like competition. The one thing we have to admire about the ancient Kemetic civilization is that it always sought balance and harmony. It never put one above the other. But now, what you're seeing is that white women, African American women, are given these privileges and they're feeling empowered now. And they don't want to give up these privileges. And when you talk to about the totalitarian tiptoe and what's going on, they're not going to give up the rights, the resources that have now been funneled to them, even though they know that it comes at a heavy price because they're heading toward that dark dystopian future. And they're playing an instrumental role in the downfall of humanity. I watched the film The Terminator, Dark Fate, and what I saw in it disgusted me so much. Here we have the Arnold Schwarzenegger character robot, apex predator, if you want to call it, talking about what color curtains should be in a little girl's room. And I was baffled at this. I'm like, oh my God. But that's a bad example because that's when Hollywood allowed it to be blatant. Typically, they subtly throw that at you, so it's almost imperceptible. You miss it. But here's the danger, and I've already stated this point. When you give resources and funding to one group and they become accustomed to that, and even though you reveal the plan to them, you expose what's going on, they're not likely to give up their position of power. They don't want to do it. So now you have the majority of women in our society who has become comfortable and are not going to stand up and say, wait a minute, something's wrong. Now, it's not all women. Let's be honest about this. But it's too many. Now, here's where it gets more devious now. Within these beta males, they have indoctrinated these beta males to become the surrogate voices of the women. So now the beta males are trying to check the alpha males. They're saying, oh, why are you approaching that girl on the street and asking for her name and her number? That's street harassment. Is it really? Is it street harassment if she finds you attractive? And if she sent you the signals to approach her? But see, the beta males now, because they want coochie, are becoming the white knights and checking other males. And now you have a perfect ecosystem, a perfect system that runs autonomously and gets you to where you need to go, which is death and destruction. I had this white knight beta male try to check me. When I told him, I said, listen, why are you saying negative things about men who date interracially? Why are you attacking men of influence and power who choose to date interracially? Of course, he had an emotional response, not a logical response. And he says, well, we're not meant to date people outside of our race. I said, well, if that was so, then a woman could not get pregnant of any race. You are made to date and marry and procreate with anyone, any color, any nationality, because it's a survival technique. It is how nature has endowed us for the procreation of the race as a whole. But they don't have a legitimate argument, you see. They're just parroting what they've heard because the society, in addition to creating these taskmasters, these beta males, has also dumbed down society as a whole. And when I would cite certain literature, certain books as reference that he could read up on this, he was clueless as to what I was saying. I was like, wow, I was thrown back. We have to be vigilant. We have to take an active role in what is going on. If we sit back and have a long-term brain fart, before we know it, we're going to be wiped off this planet. Because you're facing a very clever, well-financed enemy that wants only one thing, your death and destruction. There is no debating it. There's no arguing about it. There's no compromise. They do not want you on this planet. And they're using every means necessary to make that happen. You see, they can't use one avenue of opportunity to depopulate the planet. So they have to use a multitude of things. Socially engineer the women to select beta males, and those beta males don't get them excited, so they stop having intercourse. Now, increase financing to Planned Parenthood, have more abortions, talk about how abortions are important, how it's a woman's right to choose. I'm not passing judgment, I'm just telling you what's happening. Then introduce chemicals into the water that makes men sterile. Read it. This is all happening. But we're so concerned with Kobe Bryant. We're so concerned with the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, we're getting our asses kicked. We got Big Brother watching us, documenting, studying our every move, studying us to determine our weaknesses, how best to get at us, and then conceiving a plan that'll take them 100 years into the future and leave us behind. I have no more to say on this subject. Get off your ass and do something. Take an active role in this. If everyone I'm talking to out there would learn magic and actually apply it, the ruling elite would be in serious trouble. If everyone out there would get involved in an organization, the ruling elite would be in trouble. It doesn't take a lot to thwart their plans. It really doesn't. But when you do nothing, it's easy for them to implement their plans because there's no opposition. And I kindly told this white knight, this guy trying to check me, to shut the fuck up. Because you have to be strong. You have to take a stance. You have to say, this is not going to happen. Not for me, not my family. I see what's going on, and I'll be damned if it's going to happen on my watch. There's no debating this. They don't want you on this planet, so you have to take measures to get rid of them, to expose them, to expose the beast. Absolutely right. They killed John Connor because they have to kill the male. You see, John Connor represented the masculine aspect of the future, the opposition to Skynet. They had to destroy him. And this is why you'll find in most movies now, strong male characters are devalued. They're given less screen time. How is it that all of Hollywood studios that really have no connection to one another are all operating on the same page? Isn't that peculiar? That tells you that they take their marching orders from a higher authority, not the boardrooms, not the creative brainstorm sessions, but someone is issuing the orders to all the studios to kill off males in the film. So, and then because the male characters aren't written so that you care about them, you sympathize with them, and you cheer for them. You don't care when they die. So when it happens in real life, you don't care. That's how they have to do it. Ma'akaru. Hey. So I want you to think about this. This is not about simple media manipulation. This is about programming your mind to such a degree why you're to have your de facto mindset think in accordance with their wishes. To where you don't think for yourself anymore, you think according to them because they know how to do it. The greatest and most effective way of mind control is incremental steps. This is why when you read the I Ching, the 53rd hexagram talks about gradual progress. This is what they're doing. It's slow, it's subtle, it's like yin, it's like water. And you don't realize it's happening. And the other way they do it is they make it a 360 thing that no matter where you turn, you have a consistency of the message, which is to devalue males. See them as rapists, see them as toxic masculinity, support the Me Too movement, believe a woman no matter what. Do away with the legal system. Just throw them in jail, which is what they're doing now. I want to dedicate this broadcast to the goddess Isis, or Set, because when Set took control of Kemet, everyone recoiled, feared Set. No one challenged him. It was Set that sought out the pieces of Osir and put them back together again, and then nursed her son Haru to get ready to do battle with Set. She didn't battle Seth. She nursed her son, and he defeated Seth. I want to thank you all, Magi's, for taking the opportunity, and I hope this message really, really hits home. We have a lot of work to do, and if we don't do it, we won't be here in the future. Our kids won't be here in the future, and what will be here will be a race of people that look far different than what we look like now. And it's going to be not good. It's going to be dark, and it's going to be scary. Anyway, I've said enough. This is Kisank Ma Keparu, son of Ma and Tahuti. My aunt is a beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next broadcast, I'm in Ra.